Then, first responders whose heroism on 9/11 left them with potentially deadly illnesses are exposing how the government isn't helping them get the medical care they desperately need.
On 9/11 are now sick with respiratory ailments and other life-threatening illnesses. And they say they're not getting the care they so desperately need. Please welcome to the show Vito Valenti and Bonnie Gibfried. Hello, guys.
Hello, Vito. Hello, Bonnie.
Hi,
Bonnie. Bonnie, you are EMT worker? Is that a volunteer? What was your position before 9/11?
I was a EMT. I was dispatched through the 911 system from Flushing Hospital Medical Center. I went from 164th Street and Northern Boulevard into the city through the LIE down to what we know as now is Ground Zero. Originally, I was supposed to be staged on West and Vesey.
Right.
And by the grace of God, at that point, a firefighter stopped me in the middle of West and Liberty, put me on top of a manhole cover, which I know you're not supposed to be on. And I tried to get underneath the pedestrian bridge, and that's where my ambulance ended up getting blown under.
So you were buried alive underneath the debris?
I was buried alive on the outside of Financial One.
For how long were you under there?
We don't know. It was probably about 10 minutes because with the debris burning at that point and us being trapped by tons of stuff, right. it cut off the oxygen completely.
So how was your health before and how is it now? Tell us.
I passed 4 physicals. I passed the fire department in New York. I passed my volunteer firefighter exam. I passed my exam for my job through Flushing Hospital. And I had another physical that I deal with other people, and I passed 4 physicals before 9/11.
So you were completely healthy?
I played on 3 softball teams.
So now what is the status of your health?
I'm lucky if I can walk up the stairs someday.
You have respiratory illness. And is there a name for the respiratory illness that you have?
They call it RADS, reactive airway disease, or the WTC cough you've heard. Asthma. I have chronic asthma now.
Did you have it before?
No.
No. Vito, where were you when 9/11 happened?
I was at 125 Barclay Street. I worked for DC 37, Local 372 Schools Division. I was a grievance representative, and we took care of all the city schools.
You went down there and were down there for how long?
2 days. I was there for 2 days.
And what was your job?
We did search. I did search and rescue. I volunteered.
You were a volunteer. When you were gigged down there, were you given a mask?
I was not given nothing.
Really?
The only thing they gave us was a purple, the orange vests.
Yes.
That's it.
And at that time,
no gloves, no masks, no respirators.
Did you have a sense you should have some of that equipment?
I mean,
but you couldn't get it.
We couldn't get
As
it.
EMS, we weren't given equipment either.
Yeah,
but at that time, had Christy Whitman said that it was safe? Had it been declared safe down there? Because shortly after 9/11, the air was considered safe. Is that true, Dr. Molly?
That's what was said a few days later. When we were down there, it was too early, and air certainly wasn't safe. It wasn't safe for many, many months down at Ground Zero.
We should say that this is Dr. Jacqueline Moline, and she is the director of the WFC Monitoring and Treatment Program at Mount Sinai.
So you've been monitoring the first response workers, people who were down there who now have these respiratory diseases. Over half the people who were down there are now suffering the way these 2 people are?
We've seen it in thousands of people from the New York area and responders throughout the whole country who came in and have now gone back to their communities. This is a national problem. People are sick. They have upper respiratory problems. They have cough, asthma, reactive airway disease. People have scarring in their lungs and serious diseases requiring lung transplants, like Vito is going to require.
You need a lung transplant.
I was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. I need a double lung transplant.
Now, before 9/11, had you had any disease like this? You two were a healthy man.
I was healthy because in the city schools, the old school, you know, the newest schools today, they got elevators. The old schools, you know, we were in charge of like school aids, cafeterias. So when I went to see the principal, I might have had to walk on the 4th floor.
Yeah.
Right.
Today, I'm lucky if I can walk.
No,
this is what I carry.
Yeah.
You know, I'm diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis, restricted air. I got lesions on my leg that, I mean, I could show you. This is some of the stuff I'm battling.
Now, doctor, what would these lesions be caused from? Is that related to the 9/11, Dr. Moline?
Well, without going into Vito's whole medical history, it's hard to know exactly, but it's all part and parcel of someone who has chronic lung disease because the heart isn't able to pump as well and the blood flow getting back to the lungs. So you have the blood flow builds up, the legs get swollen, and then you're more likely to get skin problems in the lower leg.
That's what happened to you.
As my doctor also said. Now, on top of that, my heart is very, very enlarged. You know, so I can't sleep. I haven't laid down in a bed, laying down for almost 4 years. I sleep every night in a chair.
Sitting up.
Sitting just like this. I sit up like this.
The average number is what, 20,000 people? Is that the number that we're talking about?
Well, we know there are about 50,000 responders. There are estimates about
50,000
that.
responders.
And we know that about half of them continue to have some type of symptom up at the time, and people have cough. We used to know who had been at the World Trade Center in our office because we would hear them coughing.
No kidding.
So when we come back, we want to talk about the federal funding, because that is really the tragedy here also.
Right, because we need federal funding for this, and it's coming up soon in the Senate. And no matter what you feel about this government, we need to take care of these people who went down there to help us as those buildings were attacked.
They volunteer.
Yes, we're gonna come back with them and tell a little bit more what you can do and about their story. Don't go away.
America, is this really the man that you want to lead us through the next 4 years of this most critical time in the history of the planet? Do you want to give this man leadership of the most powerful country in the entire world when he was instrumental in covering up the atrocities of the September criminals? This man was told that the buildings were going to collapse and to get out at the same time that firefighters, Port Authority security officers, and other emergency responders were told to stay put and hold their position. We even heard testimony from a firefighter that moments before the towers collapsed, he reported from the 78th floor that there were only 2 isolated pockets of fire which could easily be knocked down with 2 lines. Rudy Guiliani holds the answers to very keen questions about the fateful events of September 11, 2001. He needs to share those secrets with the rest of the country and the world. If you're at an event where Rudy Guiliani is speaking, ask him who at the Office of Emergency Management told him that the towers were going to collapse when never in the course of history has any steel-structured building lost structural integrity due to melting steel. Ask him also why he did not relay the information onto the other emergency workers and firefighters that lost their lives in the destruction of those towers. And especially since the entire war on terror are based on the events of that day. Maybe, just maybe, if enough of us keep the pressure on and ask him and confront him with questions such as these, Giuliani will be forced to answer. At least, maybe, we can keep him from being the Republican nominee in 2008.